About, tell my viewers,
The chapter on homicide is subtitled, Why Do We Kill Each Other? We're talking about 95% of all murders of African Americans are committed by other African Americans. Why do we kill each other? At some point in our history, we took over. Going back to the beginning, we could not kill each other because we were property. And we would get in big trouble, you know? So at some point, we were being killed by others. And at some point beyond that, we took it over.
So what happens, Mr. Burrell?
That's brainwashing.
Okay, good. I'm glad you went there, because has it become almost commonplace for us to kill each other because it's so rampant in the media? Has the reality become a reflection of what we see in
Yes.
pop culture?
It's hard to know which is the reality, which influences which, but we know two things are happening at the same time.
Yes.
One is that we have our heroes of these young kids basically constantly drumming away at the theme of it's good to be a killer, it's good to kill, put 6 in the clip, bust the head until the white meat shows. I mean, we're hearing this constant, and we know that these kids admire those people.
Yes.
We know that these kids have been broken down psychologically through brainwashing. So why are we surprised that someone would say there may be a connection between those two things?
You know what, Mr. Burrell, let's move forward on this, because you also cite Maury Povich's show, and you talk about the proliferation of African Americans on that show. You also talked about Omarosa's representation on The Apprentice a few years ago. Why do you look at Maury Povich and Omarosa as possibly some stereotypes here?
Well, we're talking about images that reinforce the negative stereotypes that we have learned to emulate, okay? We have learned that through conditioning. So when you have couples on the Maury Povich show, you've got a guy trying to avoid the issue of paternity, trying to get out of that. I mean, it's playing into the whole issue of irresponsible fathers.
Yeah.
You know, it plays into the issue of black men and women who can't get together. But it doesn't, what it doesn't do, it doesn't connect the dots with the history. You know, only a few generations ago, it was illegal for a black man to be a father. Only a few generations ago, you could have a mate that you went to sleep with one night, and the next day she would be gone, sold, without, and you had absolutely nothing to do with it. It's all right. It's all right to basically point these issues out, these pathologies, but we've got to connect the dots so we can understand how they came to be.
And you're connecting the dots extremely well in your book. I'm looking at the part on the 3 weeks of BET and MTV that were examined. 746 sexually explicit scenes or lyrics, 27 instances per hour, 45% of the adult content was sexual, over 103 vulgar references to sexual anatomy. We're being killed with these images, and it seems as if people on Facebook right now are hitting me. They love your book, by the way. I'm looking at Victoria Anton Brown. She says, after reading Brainwashed, challenging the myth of black inferiority, I have but one regret. It has challenged my role as a passive observer. It's now hard to laugh at black comedians and rappers who carelessly use the N-word or endorse sexual promiscuity and violence. Is that the core that you're trying to get to?
That is the promise. That is the promise of the book. What I'm being told is that people read this book, they never look at black images and words the same way.
Yeah.
All we need to do is have our eyes open and have our minds open to the damage that these images do, to the bombardment. and we can turn this thing around.
Yeah, Enola says, I have purchased multiple copies of Brainwash to share with my family and friends, and I intend to buy more. This is a must-read book for black people and everybody else.
This book is intended to be read and reread and used. It's a how-to, it's a reference book, it's a book to be discussed.
Yes, stopthebrainwash.com. Hey, stay with me as Tom Burrell gives us a history lesson on the power of images and words. His book, Brainwash, Challenging the Myth of Black Inferiority. Garrard McClendon Live continues.